Number 32, Glenn Galt Sr., who enjoyed a terrific 38-year racing career. He retired from Hooters Pro Cup in 2005. Glenn Galt Sr., he won the NASCAR Northeast Points Championship in 1998. He earned 24 feature wins that year. He also had 24 feature wins in 1991, but finished second in a NASCAR Northeast Points. Glenn told me on the phone that the thing he remembers most, it sticks in his mind, he was the $10,000 Snap-on Tools winner here at the Jennerstown Speedway back, I believe it was 1992. Glenn also raced in one ARCA event back in 1978 at Daytona. He qualified 10th. He finished 7th that evening at Daytona in that ARCA race. Glenn's not here tonight because he's with Glenn Jr. Glenn Jr. is racing tonight in Barberton, Ohio. Snooki and the Gang of Six. It is an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to welcome into our Hall of Fame Glenn Galt Sr., ladies and gentlemen. How about a nice round of applause? I know he's not here, but we welcome Glenn. Next, unable to be here, and when I spoke with him and his wife this week, I was completely astonished. I knew he was a legend. A 42-year racing career, 1951 to 1993, William Blackie Watt earned himself over 600 career wins at 82 different speedways. In that 42-year career, he drove 25 years a modified for car owner Joe Pitkovich. Blackie won one of the qualifying races for, and we're going to start with those two first, and I guarantee you Josh Brocker and our Gang of Six will make sure that they get their plaque and all of the special goodies they get in conjunction with their induction into the Jennerstown Hall of Fame. Our first inductee is for the Firecracker 400 Grand National Race at Daytona in 1961. And many of you folks who remember Blackie remember his signature black cowboy boots. Those boots are housed in the Heinz Sports Museum in Pittsburgh. Blackie's a member of the Lernerville Speedway Hall of Fame and also the Dirt Museum and Hall of Fame in Weedsport, New York. Blackie is married to his lovely wife of 54 years, Mary Lou, and they thank all of us so very much and apologize for not being here. But our next inductee, William Blackie Watt. The next member to enter the Jennerstown Speedway Hall of Fame, this handsome gentleman right here who I had a wonderful discussion with, enjoyed a 25-year racing career, having earned 25 career wins, both on asphalt and countless wins on the dirt. Bob Arsenberger of Mill Run, Pennsylvania, into the Hall of Fame. He has earned himself 2 points championships at Roaring Knob in 2004, right, Bob? And then at Elkins, West Virginia Speedway back in the early 70s. Bob told us that the highlight of his racing career is that he won the Piney Lasky Memorial races here at Jennerstown back-to-back in 1997 and 1998. Bob's been married to his lovely wife of 25 years, Nancy. He has 2 children, Christopher and Robin, along with 3 grandkids. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in welcoming into the Hall of Fame, Mr. Bob Arsenberger! Bob, would you like to say a few words? I know we spoke a good bit on the phone.
Well, I'd just like to let everybody know how proud and excited I am to be put in the Jennerstown Speedway Hall of Fame. Jennerstown was always a favorite track, and it is yet today. 25 times I stood in victory lane. 2 times In that 25, I got to wear the Pontiac cowboy hat. For you new fans, when you did something great, you got to wear the hat. And I was lucky enough to do it twice. At that time, that was the highlight of my career. Tonight, receiving this award means everything. I want to thank the people that voted for me to be taken into the Hall of Fame. I'd like to thank my pit crew, Steve Brooks, the crew chief, Bobby Ames, the tire specialist, Mark Begum, the engine man, he can make the boards run, and Sean Pella, who was Sean Chalky was my spotter. Without the pit crew, you're nothing. I'd like to thank the family for putting up with this, for all the cookouts I missed, the graduations, the birthday parties. Again, I'd like to, this is the last chapter in my book of the 26 race days. After the night we're going to close that book, put it on the shelf. On the outside of the book it'll say, had a great time, had a lot of friends, and at last had the best fans in the world. Thank you. God bless.
So very well said, Bob Arsenberger. And if you think this doesn't mean a lot to these people, this is something, I gotta tell you. Ladies and gentlemen, our next inductee, I want to tell you a little bit about this gentleman right here, who drove the 06 car, and then certainly passed on the 07 onto a very familiar face here at the Jennerstown Speedway. But I gotta tell you about this handsome gentleman right here who enjoyed a 27-year career racing experience from 1959 to 1976. Cliff Dunmeyer won the first ever half-mile race here at the Jennerstown Speedway. And this is Cliff right here. He has raced at places like Motordrome, Bedford, Cumberland, Latrobe, Myersdale, and of course right here at Jennerstown. Cliff, you raced in numerous divisions throughout your stellar career. When we asked you about your feature wins, you said, oh, I have so many, I just can't remember. And we talked to your wife, Connie, and Connie told us some great stories about how the kids would sleep in the pits, in the front seat of the car, in the back seat of the car, and Connie would keep checking on the kids and then watching you. What Connie told us earlier this week was, you know, Mike, for me and Cliff, it wasn't about winning as much, and this is a quote, it wasn't about us winning as much, it was about the togetherness. As we are together, we did it as a family. It doesn't matter what we did as a family. So without any further ado, Jennerstown, will you join me in inducting into the Jennerstown Hall of Fame class of 2016, Mr. Cliff Dunmeyer! Cliff, it's great to have you here, but the guy we inducted last year is going to do some talking for you. Jeff, how does this feel? I know it felt good for you, but the patriarch of the family, this has got to be wonderful.
Sure is. I mean, he started it all for all of us, and we appreciate it all. Races all over the place. Thank all you guys for coming and supporting them. And can't say enough for my dad. He sure made a good family for all of us.
Jeff, very well said. Cliff, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure and an honor to meet you and your wife. It's just great to have you. Thank you so much. Cliff Dunmeyer, into the Jennerstown Speedway Hall of Fame. Let's move on next to this gentleman right here. He enjoyed an 18-year racing career before turning in the race key in for racing management. From 1972 to 1990, his late model career, the year that stands out, 1983, because he was the Jennerstown Speedway Super Late Model Point Champion. Stan Lasky Jr., we welcome you to the front stretch. Stanley earned anywhere from 20 to 25 wins. We lost count. Even Dow Cable, we thought Dow would keep track for you, but he, the best PIAA official in the Commonwealth. He lost track of all your wins. Stanley competed at over 15 tracks throughout the Mid-Atlantic region, but something he told me he remembered most was competing at Phoenix City, Alabama Speedway, which was a dirt track. Of course, Stanley's career went on to promoting here at Jennerstown and Motordrome. He's been around race cars his whole life, building them, setting them up, working on them, endless hours in the garage. Stanley's here this evening with his lovely wife, Luann, his 3 children, Jason, Justin, and Jennifer, and 2 grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in inducting into the Hall of Fame, Stanley Lasky Jr. Stanley, I listened to what Bob said, and is this a great bookend to it all?
Well, like I said, I'm very much humbled by this, and probably for one of the few times in my life at a total loss for words. But my father started me in this when I was 11 years old, and that was a long time ago, shortly after Ben Hur retired. But I remember my father taught me, and what you see here is his vision, and this is what he wanted, this is what he built, this is what we built together. But he taught me what he wanted out of racing, and what he got out of racing was the friendships that he created in all those years. And it's the same way for me. Whether it was the employees we hired, whether it was the drivers and the competitors, whether it was all the fans that turned out and came out, it's the friendships that I will take away from this when it's all said and done. So it'll be the friendships of everyone that has made this labor of love worth it all for me.
So very well said. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, Stanley Lasky Jr. enshrined immortally in the Jennerstown Speedway Hall of Fame. Our next inductee, I want to invite my friend, promoter Joe Padola from the Bedford Speedway up here to help me out, because we get to work with this guy. He's one of our colleagues every Friday night, and he's willed this speedway himself and his boy. This handsome man's his career spanned 15 years from 1968 to 1983 in that familiar number 87 Ford. He earned 2 track championships in 1973 at Marion Center, 1975 at Heston, and he was also second in points that year at Jennerstown, third in points that year at Bedford. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the front stretch, Ken Imler Sr. I speak with Ken every Friday night after the races at Bedford, and one of the things we talked about most with Joe and our entire Bedford family is Ken remembers mostly about his racing career. He represented both Bedford and he represented Jennerstown. In 1976 and 1977, respectfully, having raced in the Al Gerber Memorial Race in Trenton, New Jersey Speedway. One of Ken's greatest memories, and this is one of the most humble men you're going to want to meet. He doesn't brag. He told me that one of his greatest memories was racing with NASCAR legend Bobby Allison on numerous occasions. Folks, Kenny and his lovely wife celebrated their 50th anniversary back on June 25th. She's here tonight along with son Ken Jr. and grandkids Kenny and Casey. Would you join me in enshrining into the Jennerstown Hall of Fame, Ken Imler Sr.? All right. What's your Friday night boss? He's keeping an eye on you. Kenny wants to know what the Friday night boss is doing here. He wants to make sure you stay out of trouble.
I just want to thank my wife. 53. Still enjoy racing.
You know, folks, I got to tell you, if you don't have chills or goosebumps, this means so much. These guys did it for the love, for the pure love of the sport. It's not about cheating or winning. It was about family, togetherness, and friends. Ken Imler Sr., you're a class act, my friend. We'll see you Friday at Bedford. Joe Padula, thank you, buddy. We will see him. That's right. We're going to see him tomorrow. Okay, thank you everybody for your patience and understanding here, getting my papers all mixed up, and thank you for understanding the emotionality of all this. Our next inductee, this gentleman I spoke with on the phone. You know what? Sometimes being a part of racing isn't about feature wins and race cars, it's about being a part of the track management family, and that's why this gentleman right here by the name of Gene Springer from Latrobe, Pennsylvania, he was our official Jennerstown Speedway pit steward from 1961 to 1976. But 3 years prior to that, Gene Springer, he assisted a gentleman by the name of Harry Noggle from 1958 to 1961. And Gene, when we spoke on the phone, as many of these other gentlemen said, and maybe you can elaborate on the phone, but or on the microphone, but I'm going to elaborate now. You told me, and I quoted you, the friendships I made here at Jennerstown, they have and they will last me an entire lifetime. Your memories were watching this track grow from a quarter mile to a third mile, and now to its current half mile configuration. And you so loved watching guys like Blackie Watt, Bobby Marhefka, and you mentioned a name by Big J Campbell. Jane, you're here this evening. You have your 3 children, Rick, Jay, and Kathy, 7 grandchildren. Jennerstown, join me in inducting a dear friend of the Jennerstown Speedway, Mr. Gene Springer. Gene, would you like to say a few words?
I'd just like to say that I'm bothered and humbled because I never thought I would get something like this. The day coming in, I do it so much. Thanks to all the people that he had mentioned. Thanks to the beautiful race fans that supported the beautiful track for so many years.
Gene, thank you very much and enjoy this night being immortalized with some of the greats. It's great to have you here. Ladies and gentlemen, our next inductee earned quite a reputation for being a racing great throughout the region, but probably his biggest forte is building race cars, and he's known nationwide. His racing career spanned 10 years. He raced at about every speedway throughout the Mid-Atlantic. But this gentleman to my left, Gary March, was the winner of the Laurel Highlands 101 not once, but 2 times. Gary, welcome to the front stretch. Let me tell the fans a little bit about you. Your highlight you spoke of, when there was a race in 1977 that you weren't even competing in, I don't believe, is my understanding. But you walked through the 24-car starting field. You were running that night. That's what makes it even more interesting, because when you looked at your 23 other competitors, Gary realized that 22 of the other 23 competitors had his March race car that he built. So Gary, in essence, was racing against 23 other cars that he knew firsthand. I want to tell you real quick, in 1978, Gary built a car for a gentleman by the name of Jimmy Edwards of Charlotte, North Carolina. Jimmy Edwards was that year the winningest driver in the nation. He earned 57 career wins in a March chassis. Jimmy Edwards raced all over the Southeast. People that raced chassis that this guy built in Bedford, people like Tom Peck, Nathan Durborough, Johnny Grump, Gerald Chamberlain, Jimmy Spencer, and Darrell Waltrip. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in inducting into the Jennerstown Speedway Hall of Fame, Mr. Gary Mertz.
I really appreciate this. This is a big highlight in my life, and I just want to say that our best year in 77, we built 52 race cars, rolled out the door on wheels from like October to the end of March, and I'll guarantee you, almost every one of them went around this racetrack. We had them going everywhere.
There were March cars everywhere. You know, this guy builds hot rod chassis now too. Does 57 Fords, 32 Ford Coupes, the very best. Gary Martz, thank you and congratulations on this honor. You're a fine gentleman. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Gary Martz. Our next inductee. This gentleman to my left learned his craft of building race cars from his legendary dad, Floyd Travis. Floyd Travis and his son, Ron Travis, our next inductee, and I quote, revolutionized sprint car racing in the entire country with the creation of the Travis Craft chassis. This gentleman here has built over 500 Travis Craft sprint cars, and some of his clientele include having built 8 Travis Craft sprinters for people like Dave Blaney. Travis Craft race cars that were built by this gentleman out of North Lima, Ohio, won the Knoxville Nationals in 1973 and 1974 with the legendary Kenny Well behind the wheel. Plus, as a young boy, this gentleman worked with his dad at his dad's shop, and he helped his dad build A.J. Foyt's 1961 Indy car that won the 1961 Indianapolis 500. Ron Travis has been married for 28 years to his lovely wife, Mary Ann. He has a daughter, Meredith, and 2 grandchildren. Jennerstown, please join me in enshrining into the Hall of Fame, Mr. Ron Travis. Ron, I'll give it to you, buddy. This is your night.
Thank you, Gary. I want to thank Jennerstown Speedway for this award. Really good.
Very well said, Ron. Go enjoy the night, my friend. It was an honor speaking with you on the phone and a pleasure to meet you in person. Last but not least, this gentleman right here, who likes those Fords, and it was a number 23 Ford. He retired from racing in 2001, following a stellar 37-year racing career, both on the dirt and the asphalt. Dan White's highlight career year came in 1973. One of the most humble gentlemen I spoke with, but I want to tell you about that magical 1973 year, which I know you remember, Dan. 7 feature wins in a late model at Motordrome. 7 feature wins at Schmuckers in a late model. 11 feature wins. Wait, I'm sorry. He won the 100-lapper here at Jennerstown. He won a 100-lapper at Bedford. That same year, behind the wheel of the late model, he also drove for Earl Hoover, jumping behind the wheel of a modified, having earned 11 more feature wins in that modified. 27 feature wins all in all in 1973. This gentleman has been happily married for 40 years to his lovely wife, Linda, and their son, Dan Jr. is here tonight. Jennerstown fans, Motor Mountain Maniacs, would you please join me in inducting this gentleman right here, Mr. Dan White.
All my pit crew, good looking, very strong. Also, I'd like to thank all the fans, and especially all the old Ford lovers, and the guys here.
All right, Dan White, ladies and gentlemen, into the Hall of Fame. Ready? Or Sean Bean. Sean, come here a second. Hold my papers here. Our 10 inductees into the Hall of Fame. Folks, I ask you all to raise your beverage high, whatever it is, and join me in a toast and a salute to the class of 2016 Jennerstown Speedway Hall of Fame inductees. Salute! Let's have a celebration. This is for you. We love you. All righty. Now we go racing. There are legends down here. Larry Wright is down here. Charlie Cragen's down here. Jim Nave, speaking of Fords, he's down here. All right, we're going to get a group photo down here. Cody Butterball, how about that? Wasn't that something? Good stuff.